Why are railroad tracks in America 4 feet, 8.5 inches wide? In the back.
So the axle length for wagon in the old days.
Right? He's got it. 4 feet, 8.5 inches, because that's the way they did it in England, so we copied them. In England, that's the way they did it on transfer cars before they came up with the rail. That's because, as he said, the reason of that width is that's the width of the ruts that we had from wagon wheels. And a chariot before that. And why a chariot? Because it's the width of 2 horses' asses, right? So our railroad tracks today are 4 feet, 8.5 inches wide because of the width of 2 horses' asses. On the Space Shuttle program, when I first started working out there, I was in my early 20s, I was running a new program on propellant, and I was trying to get this program to converge, and it wasn't working right. It kept telling me, excuse me, it kept telling me that the exit cone, the nozzle on these boosters, should be 12 feet in diameter. But they're not, they're 10. So I kept rerunning the program over and over again going, I'm doing something wrong. So I finally found an old guy who was in his 40s at the time. And I said, I can't figure this out. And he goes, well, you're right. They're supposed to be 12 feet, but they're 10 because they don't fit on a rail car. So we're running the shuttle at 85% power because there's no way to ship these things from Utah to Florida economically without them being on a rail car. There's the rail cars right there and the train. So the shuttle's running in 3rd gear because of 2 horses' asses. Conventional wisdom is wrong 100% of the time. Conventional wisdom is wrong 100% of the time, at least in some context or some percentage of it. In all the workshops that I teach, if people don't listen to a single thing I say, that's the only thing I want you to get, is that conventional wisdom is wrong 100% of the time. I'm not saying rules, throw them all out the window, but challenge all the rules, assuming in a brainstorming session that they are wrong, because you will find out there will always be some context or some percentage of it that is. I teach a lot at the Army and the Air Force and the Navy, and you can't imagine how many times I hear, the regulations don't allow us to do that, blah, blah. I'm like, how many people have read the regulation? It's almost usually never anybody. And then if they do raise their hand, I'm like, did you actually challenge the interpretation of what it meant? And the answer is always no. I had a client that builds surgical devices, and they're going through this incredibly painful qualification process for several new devices. And I said, did you ever invite the government in here to have them look at how you're interpreting the procedure? And they're like, of course not, they're the enemy. I'm like, well, just try it. They were all against me. I finally got one senior guy to agree to do it. And they brought him in for a session. They went through this whole qualification process, and the government guy said, yep, you're doing it exactly right for a 12B procedure. Why don't you use the 12D? They go, what's the 12D? Well, you're already qualified all these other parts. You don't need to go 12B. You can use 12D and skip these steps. These guys are spending millions of dollars on development of these products, right? And they didn't challenge the conventional wisdom concept. So those are the 2 things that we talk about in the Da Vinci courses, is the basics of creativity. I just hit on one of them, which is challenge conventional wisdom, and then the 40 lenses.